All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the 6 Yard Line podcast. I'm Sean, that's Noel, and quick recap of Fulham versus Spurs. And boy, no, that was a good game to watch as a neutral.
Yeah, you know what? I said to you, I thought Spurs were going to win this last week because I'm like, it's just like Fulham not to turn up and not to do, to keep it interesting. And I thought after the Arsenal game, I thought, you know what, Spurs are going to come back with an answer. Man, we are wrong. I'm glad we do not predict things for a living. That's all I can say because I did not expect to see that. I was already in a mood after Forest like debacle, but then I was looking over going, well, Spurs are losing, so that's okay. That gives me hope because Spurs keep losing. And, Harry Wilson, I think, who scored the first goals, having an absolute banger of a season. He looks like he's going to be on a few shopping lists come the summer window. I think he's definitely kind of getting some attention. And then I think Odegaard's the other one. Isn't it Odegaard? Who's the other guy? Rose Smith Rowe. That's it. He's playing really well too.
Yeah. No, the second goal was scored by Iwobi for Fulham.
But I think it's Smith Rowe that sets it up there, right?
Correct. Yeah. Smith. You know what? Smith Rowe needed a place like Fulham. He wasn't getting the minutes and the time to develop when he was at Arsenal. Right now, he's able to kind of the group that he's around really works well for him. Will he get a bigger club? I don't necessarily know if that's the right move for him. I think what it's not just him and Wilson. Like I look at Wilson. Wilson's a talent, but I wonder will he be able to replicate what we see here at Fulham at a bigger club where he's fighting for minutes, where he's going to necessarily be the main man or even be in the starting 11, right? Like if you look at any of the top 4 or 5 teams, where's he guaranteed to be a starter? Right.
Yeah.
So I sometimes worry about some guys.
But I think you could end up at Spurs. They don't get relegated.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation for another day. But back to the game. But you know what? Fulham came out with a purpose. They, got the early goal. Wilson's goal was in the 7th minute. Iwobi's goal was in the 4th minute. And to me, you just felt like Fulham isn't the kind of, Spurs aren't the kind of team that is going to come back. They don't have the same fight we've seen, even if Spurs in the past few seasons or under Edge, for example, right? This seems like a team that's almost. It doesn't matter what coach comes in; they're all in their own, doing their own thing.
Speaking of the coach coming in, like Igor Tudor was a bit of an understatement to say the least. I don't think anybody had that on their shopping list or their bingo card as being the next Spurs manager. I don't know if you heard the story of how he got hired, but it looks like it's the wrong move because they aren't responding. There is no new manager bounce, and I just find it really baffling why they would hire him. So they essentially the outgoing what's his name, sporting director from Juventus, the Petrecchi, the guy that got banned for a while. That guy wanted him in the summer instead of Thomas Frank. And I didn't know this. They actually interviewed 30 managers for the job of Spurs. I know, that was my face too. They interviewed 30 managers and he wanted Igor Tudor, but the rest of the committee wanted Thomas Frank. So they went with Thomas Frank. Then he's obviously left the club now and is no longer the sporting director or whatever it is you want to call him, the GM or whatever he is in charge of. He's gone to Fiorentina. And so Spurs called him up when they sacked Thomas Frank and asked him to help get Igor Tudor, his buddy, into the building. So that's how they got him. And I was like, it's clearly not working. There is no new manager bounce. They didn't look like, I think Richarlison scored late on, but they never looked like they were getting back into this game. And, I sat there watching it after the Forest game because I was like, all right, I got to see this. There's just no fight. There's nothing there. And they are sleepwalking into relegation. They are literally sleepwalking into relegation.
I'll tell you this. The only thing that is saving them at this current
Forest
moment
and West
is, yeah, is both
Ham.
you guys lose, West Ham lose, like, because this would have been the perfect weekend for both you and or West Ham to gain points on that, right?
Yeah.
Because and we talked about this last episode. Spurs, like you were a little bit more confident in Spurs gaining. I can't remember how many points you said over the next 3 games, and I didn't see the same as you, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't as surprised with the Fulham win. Just because they don't like, there's nothing about Spurs right now that motivates me, even from an outsider, to pick them in any game, right? Their next Champions League round matchup, I do not expect them to move on, and that might be a good thing for them, where they can try to put all their focus on the Premier League. But what is it? 10 games in a row they've lost in the Premier League. Like, that's a relegation type of record, right? And I think if we look at West Ham's record over that same window, it's not. It's Spurs would take West Ham's record during that window versus what they currently have.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption, right? Because at the end of the day, I just don't see them. They just don't look like they look interested in being in a relegation fight. That's the scary part, is that they don't realize it. Because you know what, Forest, they probably won't get much out of the Man City game in midweek. I don't think West Ham will get much out of their game. And then Spurs have got Palace, and Palace again, like Fulham, you have no idea which one you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get the one that can beat Liverpool or beat Man City, or you get the one that has been running for the last 10 weeks, where they look like they just lay an egg every week. And I think coming off the Man United game, where they are a little bit aggrieved at that game, I think they might have a point to prove against Spurs. So this one's not as much of an easy gimme, but if you're a Spurs fan, this is panic stations, because they are literally sleepwalking into it. Their only saving grace might be like last year, where everybody else around them is just that bad as well. So it's crazy. It's crazy that we're talking about Spurs in a relegation fight after 27, 28 weeks in the Premier League. It's wild.
It's not what anyone would have expected. Even those who want to see Spurs suffer, they wouldn't have picked Spurs in this position at this current moment, right? You want to see them there, but you still wouldn't have picked them at 17th.
No, there's no way.
Right?
I honestly thought Thomas Frank was going to do good with them, to be honest. I honestly thought he was going to get them.
We both did.
Solid and grinding out results and being in that top 6 with a stingy defense and just thinking. But again, it's you can only play who's in front of you, and they played Fulham on the weekend, and Fulham wanted it more, and that's been the story of their last 10, 12 weeks. The other teams wanted it more than they have, and somebody said they're amazed that they're in the last 16 of the Champions League. Well, they are probably the 16th team in the Champions League, and I don't think they'll be in that much longer.
I would agree with that right now, and I don't care who they go up against. They could go up against Bodo Glimt, and I pick Bodo Glimt over them any day. So we'll leave it at that when it comes to Spurs. Congrats to Fulham. Big 3 points for you to kind of stay in that mid-table area that they are in. Spurs, like I said, I don't know what's going on for them, and really, I can't see them improving anytime soon. If they do get a point or get points, it will be most likely a draw against Palace, right? Because Palace doesn't seem like the kind of team that can hold on to a lead if they get one. So anything's possible, right? Spurs are at home. Mainly they'll try to impress their home fans.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Don't forget to smash a like and subscribe, and leave us a comment in the section below.
Take care, folks.